This is Let's Talk Business with your host, Marc Ebinger. Now, here's Marc.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Let's Talk Business podcast. Today we've got Emad Guirguis back in the studio. Emad is a bookkeeping expert and the owner of Simply Bookkeeping. Emad, you're looking dapper. Welcome to the show.
Thanks again, Marc. Love to be here.
How was your trip to the Philippines?
It was amazing.
Yeah?
Yep. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
It was not too hot and all of that?
I mean, it's hot here, but you know.
Yeah,
it looks pretty epic.
Did you have air conditioning while you were over there?
Not really.
No?
Portions.
But the ocean was right there.
Yeah. Pretty breezy. Oh, yeah. Real.
How was the food?
Delicious.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. Really good.
Or did
Very
you eat
flavorful.
like Filipino food or?
Oh, yeah. We tried everything.
Did you really?
We tried everything.
I don't know.
Some regrets, but you know, it's good.
You still survived it.
You got to at least try. I feel like if you go to another country and you don't at least try everything, then you're just that person that ate at only the white people restaurants.
Yeah.
We did that in India. Our driver kept taking us to only the white.
Oh,
We'd walk
no.
into
You're like,
restaurants
I
in
wanted this
India and we just
experience.
saw a bunch of tourists. And we were those tourists, but there was toilet paper in the bathrooms.
Yeah.
That's
So
a big
I did
thing.
appreciate that.
Well, and your stomach can't necessarily handle all the strange new exotic foods, right? So, and when you're on vacation, you don't want to have to spend most of that time in your room.
Well, as long as it's well prepared, I think your stomach can handle the strange new exotic foods. You just have to be careful about the
Quality.
of the exotic food.
Yeah. I'm not eating camel. I don't care what they tell me. You know what I mean? That's. Didn't you watch those?
We
shows
all
where
have
they're-
our line in the sand. I'm not eating
Right.
dolphin.
Oh, I'd eat dolphin. I'd try it.
What?
Just to say you tried it. Just to
But
say
I'm not
you
eating
tried
camel
it.
or goat. I don't like goat either.
Goat?
No.
Well, did
Yeah,
you
or
try
lamb.
the
I don't do
balut?
any of those.
Mark.
Yeah.
I want to
See-
know if Emad tried the
See,
balut.
I didn't want to bring it up.
What?
Yes, the balut. It's the
Oh, the
duck
egg.
egg.
Yeah, that's
duck egg,
disgusting. Did you try that?
Yes, yeah, I
Get
looked
out.
at it.
I've never personally tried it. I'm Filipino, so.
Yeah. I was stationed there for 6 months.
No kidding.
Yeah, back in '91, and I knew about that there. I'm
You
not
tried
trying that.
balut?
No.
Really?
What?
That's like entry level.
Is it?
No, Emad, I
Yeah.
don't know if that's entry level.
That's
That's
not
pretty,
entry level. What?
Yeah.
What other
Entry
stuff?
level.
Really?
It is.
Oh, yeah.
You should see the other stuff they
Uh-huh.
have.
Wow, you're quite the food
So, yeah.
food freak.
Like I said, little regrets, but it's all good.
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
the
But you
balut
can
a
check it off
regret?
the list.
Huh?
You
No,
could
it's
definitely
definitely
check
checked
it out.
off the list.
How was the
Bucket
alcohol?
list item.
I
You
don't
don't remember?
So good.
So we're going to say it was great.
I like the colors, but I don't know. I love that. All right, let's bring this back in here. So I'm your host, Marc Ebinger, the owner of Kruka's Virtual Staffing, a company that specializes in providing remote staffing solutions for small to medium-sized businesses by hiring skilled English-speaking virtual assistants from the Philippines and Latin America for as little as $7 an hour.
That's awesome. And my name is Jenevy Sims, co-host here, owner of the Evolve firm, where we specialize in creative branding strategies for business owners.
And I'm also your co-host, Heather Rose Boehme, owner of Onset Professional Development and certified business coach. I make what's in your head make sense and give you a little friendly butt kicking to actually make you do the things that you say you want to do.
Yeah, so if you're out there and you're a business owner and you're a little bit not focused, ask Heather for her mind map exercise thing. Let her walk you through all of that, get you trained up on how to execute on that. That's a really good thing that I'm doing with you, and I appreciate that. So it's really helping bring some clarity to what I want and how to get there, and then make sure that I'm extracting revenue at every possible turn. So I like that.
Yeah.
For me,
ROI.
it's like a little shocking that people don't think in models, but that is not a thing. So now I do it for people. I turn it into the models.
Man,
And it
yeah.
is helpful.
And I'd love to hear how you utilize some softwares to help you make that possible too.
It's not
That
pen
would
and
be really
paper
interesting.
anymore.
Really,
It's actually not super complicated software either. It's just an online whiteboard.
very cool.
Yeah, but you're very fast at understand. First of all, she'll figure out what do you like, what type of business do you want to build, and you can cut me off if I'm butchering this, but this is my experience anyway. How do you want to build it? What do you want? And then what are your goals? And then she just starts mapping it out and connecting everything, and then figuring out, okay, where can you extract revenue from this thing here? And then ultimately, it all needs to feed, I guess, your main thing that you're trying to extract revenue. Does that sound right, or did I butcher
Yeah,
it?
it looks different for everybody because I always start with like, what are you trying to drive? What do you want to do? How big do you want to go? And then what is a path that you can take to that you're actually willing to execute on? Just because somebody's done it one way doesn't mean you're willing to do it that way. If you're icked out by it, or if you just don't, it's not worth it to you to do that thing. So we start pulling out what you are willing to do, what you like to do, what you're great at, and why not build a path to your future that you actually want to walk, right? Like, we don't have to do it the way everybody else has, but that doesn't mean we can't use their formulas. So,
And that's how you got my buy-in early, because you're figuring out what do you want to do, and then you can actually make money that way. There's other people doing it already, so let's map it out and see how it would work for you. It's like, look, if you're going to be a business owner, you don't have a business coach, you're really cutting yourself off at the knees. You need to have that person that you can bounce ideas off. It doesn't mean you need to necessarily pay them every month, but at least if they're in your realm and you're like, hey, this is something I want to do, then let me hire you to help me get this done. But it's like you should have a relationship, at least in my opinion, in my experience.
well, and that's something that in the future I'm kind of tweaking and moving my business coaching structure toward, rather than being a monthly recurring cost. I want to do it on a session basis. So it's like 6 sessions or however many sessions for a flat fee. So it's like, if you want to keep coaching, great, but let's make it a short time period. We're going to do high impact, because I'm not really interested in being people's business counselor.
Well,
I want to
There's a
drive
big
impact.
difference,
That's
right.
the difference.
let's date before we marry, right? I mean,
I just don't really want to marry anybody other than the man I already married. No,
Right.
but that's
you
the thing.
You were kind of goo gaga over your husband there out there in the. He's really tall. He's really good looking.
He
and
is good looking.
Y'all
and
produce great
tall.
looking babies.
I know, right?
I mean, you got it
Good
going on.
genetics have gone into my children, and they're probably still going to be short because mine are strong. But yeah, like you found that. But I'm absolutely willing to partner with people and then send you on your way. That's the thing. I don't want to be the long-term solution. I want to teach a man to fish type of solutions. Let's figure out what works for you. Let you go do it. If you need to come back, we can absolutely do that. But go try it on your own. See if it works. Let's pay a little less money and then come back. And if it doesn't work, we'll reformat it. Because if you're going to build a plan and you're not going to work it, the plan is absolutely worthless. So build a plan that you are actually excited about working. Or if you're not excited about working it's a really short plan. So you only have to be miserable for a limited amount of time.
Right.
We all have to do miserable things every once in a while in business, but you need to make that finite.
Exactly. When I know my experience with Heather has been amazing. Every week she holds me accountable. We have action items. She put together that whiteboard for me and kind of clarified, where the areas of focus needed to be. Because I know a lot of business owners out there, you have more than one business and you have more than one idea. So it helps to have somebody kind of map it out for you and say, okay, which one is the most important to you right now? And here's some action items to get you there. And to have somebody who has that model sense too, to kind of categorize it. Because I know for me, I must have ADHD because my head is all over the place. I am not one to just sit and be still, but you still have to have a map. You still have to have a roadmap. You have ideas. As business owners, we have ideas all day long on what we want. But when you have somebody saying, okay, I'm going to hold you accountable. You got 1 week to do this. And then you meet up and go, did you do it? For me, I like goals. But I set my own goals. But then to have somebody also say, okay, here's the goals that's going to help you reach this goal over here. So someone to hold me accountable and watch over a certain part of this goal that I've been striving towards has really helped me tremendously.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend her services.
And it's a lot easier to follow through when you've got a plan and a structure set for you rather than trying to guess through it. I mean, a lot of times you know what you have to do, but unless you write it down and figure it out and put a plan to it, it almost seems impossible till you write it out. Or, you use your software or program to make it possible, but that's the way to it. Holding accountable, structure, a plan, it's all there.
Maud's good at that. Also, this has been great, you guys. Thank you for the great testimonials I just got. I love this. Organic. It wasn't planned, folks.
Nope.
No, and so speaking of organic, let's talk about the mixer that we plan to talk about. No, I'm kidding.
All right.
That was
So
phenomenal.
we had the mixer. It was the second. We're going to end up doing these twice a year now. We figured once a quarter is probably a little too much. You know, we want to put a lot into it. You know, a lot of great ideas came out of this one, or were put into this one, and we want to continue to kind of level up what that experience is. Next one's going to be in October, but this one that we had. Well, let's start with you, Heather. What were your thoughts on the mixer, the big takeaways?
Well, there's just a tremendous amount of value. And I will be honest, we co-hosts don't really plan the mixer. That's all Mark and Jennifer and Samantha. And it truly was. There was the videography, the interviews, the digital business cards. There was food and vendor tables that people could check out. And then the networking was great, too. Just being able to go and connect organically, and there was like 200 people there, so it was a really great group of people. There were some people I hadn't seen before, which is always exciting. But yeah, the value of that networking event was massive, and usually you don't go to networking events for non-networking value, but people got so much more than I think their $10 ticket paid for, which is huge for me because value-led impact is one of my core values, so I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and a lot of that is made possible by the sponsors, right? Because the ticket sales, 100% of the ticket sales went over to Discovery Camp. So they got, Emad, you're on the board over there.
Yep.
So
Yep.
It was $2,015, I think, or something like that.
Right.
That they ended up getting. So, but we like supporting, you know, a local nonprofit. That's a big part of what we're doing there. So what were your thoughts on the mixer? You weren't there, so.
Well, Mark,
What were your thoughts on missing
You're
the
the
mixer?
Philippines.
it was actually really sad knowing you all were having a fantastic time getting to network and meet great new people. I definitely wouldn't miss it at all if I didn't have, if I had the choice. But next one for sure. It is planned in advance, which is great, so we can plan for it, and we'll definitely make sure that there are not any coinciding trips or events.
Speaking of which, we should put you back in touch with Max, the photographer, and so you can get some headshots.
Okay.
Try and work a deal with him on that.
Awesome.
But that way we've got good shots of you to use for the co-host spot that you're stepping
All
into.
right. I like
Genevieve,
it.
what did you think?
Flyer.
Whoa.
Yeah. What did you think of the, Genevieve, what did you think of the mixer?
It was absolutely incredible. All the feedback that I got from everybody has just been over the top. They had said that was something that they didn't expect. There was so much going on from our vendors, our sponsors. We had incredible leadership from Samantha guiding the whole event. The minute they walked in through the door, you could see there was so many things going on, right? We had our red carpet, we had food, we had our sponsors' tables, but they said that it was so well planned out that it had a great flow. It didn't seem overwhelming to where they would just like stand in the corner and kind of wait for someone to tell them what to do or where to go. It was just as soon as you walked in, I was like, okay, here. It was just easy to walk through, and everybody was so friendly. I heard a lot of feedback that everybody was there with an open mind and ready to network. So that really set the atmosphere there, where it wasn't like everybody was in kind of a clique and only talking to people they knew. They turned around and made sure to introduce other people so that there was hardly anybody ever standing around by themselves. And I think that speaks volume for any networking event.
Yeah, it's a good layout there. So, yeah, just be for those of you listening or watching on social media, just be on the lookout for the next mixer, which will be up October 3rd is the date that we set for it. So,
And what time is it, Mark?
5:30 to 7:30 p.m. We're over there at Project Cowork Central again. It's a good location. It works for us. We are going to cap the tickets this time, though. So when you see tickets available, go buy them. We're planning on capping it at 200.
200? That's it? Okay.
Yeah, and they're going to be $15 this time instead of 10, which I mean, still plenty of value. You're still going to get all that back as soon as you walk in the door. So, but it's going to allow us to actually make sure that we can continue to provide a great experience for folks as we're moving forward. So
Fantastic.
yeah. So you're going to be, speaking of October 3rd and all of that going on, you're going to be joining the podcast crew here at Let's Talk Business.
Yeah.
So what's your motivation for deciding to join the crew? Because, I mean, the invitation was, we started talking about it, and you're like, yeah, I want to be a host on it. What was the motivation there?
Well, the motivation is completely natural, Mark. I mean, the main goal for us is to always be able to help as many business owners out there. So getting a chance to be a co-host and be able to participate and ask questions and be involved with other businesses as well. We've gotten a chance to kind of learn more about me and my business, but now is a great opportunity to be able to reach out to those other businesses too and see how they're doing and where their gaps in their financial side is. And that's kind of where I can come in and help them fill those gaps and continue to learn, set goals, fulfill, hopefully their dreams within their business's finances, of course. And then make sure that they've got the layout for the rest of the year set out really good. That's our main goal. So the motivation, I mean, it was an automatic yes from me to be able to participate and have an opportunity to be a part of it. So I'm super excited.
Yeah, and as the show, of course, our footprint here in the San Antonio business community is pretty large, and we are looking to expand that. So there's a bit of a responsibility on the host to go out there and promote the platform as it were, to invite guests to come on the show, participate in the mixer that we have twice a year. So you're a networker, so it's a really good fit that way. So excited.
Thank you.
What do you think, Heather?
Oh, I'm excited about it. I mean, I hate Emad, but
it's hard not to love him, right? Yeah.
I feel like we think very similarly. We always have gotten along because I feel like he almost to a degree thinks very in models as well, maybe a little bit more systems than models. But yeah, we've already had those conversations. So he's all about big picture, systematizing, and giving people the ability to scale. He just comes at it from a numbers perspective versus me, where I'm more like clarity on vision perspective, which is good complementary traits.
Oh, yeah.
And you're quality person too. That's super. I mean, there's none of us in here would have any reservation about recommending you to somebody. In fact, I do it all the time. I'm always saying, "Would you have a bookkeeper yet?" And it's like, "No, emailed your guy. Go ahead and get in touch with him, right?" And then I connect you guys, and it's a joy to do that. So and that's another thing too, is having quality people associated with the Let's Talk Business platform. So that people can trust that, hey, if I do some business with folks here, that it's going to be a good experience. What are your thoughts, Jenevy?
Well, I was excited when you announced it the other day at our meeting. That was fantastic. Emad and I go way back. We just kind of had this uncanny ability to run into each other at different random networking events. We never planned, and we just kind of like walk into each other and like, oh, you're here. So yes, we do have. We do think alike, so I think you're a great addition to this team. We're so excited to hear about the insights you're going to bring forth, and also the networking opportunities you're going to bring to the table too.
Yeah, absolutely, and thank y'all so much. I mean, that means so much to me as well. Getting to participate and be a part of such a high-valued group too is incredible. So,
well, thanks for saying that. I appreciate it. All right, so let's get on to your. We're in June now, right? So budgeting is something that businesses need to be paying attention to, but I don't want to just say, should we be budgeting? Because obviously we should be, but what is your ideal approach to a business owner budgeting? How do they, it's like, give me a little bit of walkthrough, because is it something you do in QuickBooks? You do it on a white piece of paper? And then what kind of things should be on there? Where are we going with it? Absolutely.
So budgeting works, well, I'll run you through it. So first off, we are in June, believe it or not. So we are at that half-year mark. So right now, it's a good opportunity for folks who haven't understood or gotten their finances for the first half of the year. It's not too late. It's good now. Get you started. That way you have the next 6 months to plan for and work through it. So whenever you're budgeting, it's very useful to have data to already be able to work with, right? You got to have something to be able to leverage or utilize. So whenever you're budgeting, it's best case scenario is to take financials from previous year, take a look at all your trends, your ratios, right? And then from there, you can kind of evaluate in more deep dive into the categories to see what the ROI is and what the usefulness of that particular category is. Speaking of expenses, of course, and then how it utilizes the big picture. So after you go through your evaluations, you take a look at the trend of how the business is actually doing as a whole, as a trajectory this year, and then you can put percentages of growth on your incomes, percentages of growth on your incomes that make sense, and then you want to put caps on your expenses, and that's kind of where your budgets come
Yeah,
from.
that's no fun.
So-
My wife
Yeah.
likes to put caps on
That's
that
the
stuff.
thing, because I see like Mark just being like, he is very much the visionary type of business owner that I'm about to ask about. Because the analytical type of business owner, not super curious about how they stick to their budget because I know how they do it. But what are the trends? Because I'm sure you have some visionary type business owners who do stick to a budget, and they maybe you have some that do stick to a budget. Is there anything in common about those business owners that stick to a budget and actually look at their numbers? What
Yeah,
do they
they
have in
win.
common?
Yes, actually, we do have a lot of business owners who've been with us for a few years. So we can give you the stats on those business owners, but the ones that have stuck through with it and look at their finances every month, and we do know this because we'll meet with them roughly about every month and keep up with them, they'll see roughly between about an 8, of course, depending on the size of the business, but between 8 to 12% growth every year, which is really good. You don't want to ever see a business go backwards or go down. So seeing that positive increase year over year when they are paying attention to their finances is huge. And then you start to see that those business owners actually start becoming really involved in their finances, which of course is our main goal. Now, it doesn't happen all the times, but for the folks, to answer your question, that do, it's very beneficial. And then they start to see, okay, this makes sense. Now I'm asking the right questions. I'm setting the right budgets. I understand how things are working. So it's not just me working with you. It's you working with me, and then we work together to help grow your business. And that's kind of where that power team comes in.
Putting things in that perspective for any business owner, it really kind of puts in perspective like your part where it really clarifies their vision even more so that they can take their business to the next level to be able to scale it. In order to scale, you have to know where you're at, right? And so that's one of the things that you do is you put that magnifying glass on that. But one of the questions that I did ask for you, the last time was, what was the difference between, tax deductions and tax credits?
That is a fantastic question, Genevieve. And a lot of people actually get it confused. So I'll explain it as simple as possible. So tax deduction is the amounts that you take off from the income to be able to, you get a tax liability. Let's say, for example, you're in the 20% tax bracket, right? And you take a tax deduction of $1,000. Well, you're saving $200 or $400. What did I say? 2,000?
1,000?
1,000. So $200 from what you would owe at the end of the year for your tax liability. That's a tax deduction, right? Now, let's say, for example, you've got a tax credit. A tax credit is directly from what you owe as a tax liability. So let's say Mark owes $5,000 in taxes. If you give him a tax credit of $1,000, he now owes $4,000 in taxes. So it's directly correlated. That's a tax credit.
So, are you done? Are you? Okay, let me ask this, because we were all at the Crit Gala. You weren't at the Crit Gala. I think you were in the Philippines.
I was out.
But we watched the charity auction. I don't think that people were made to feel guilty enough, right? But my thought is this.
Yeah, she was trying hard. She was like, come on, you guys.
You're
It was
richer than
tough.
this, right?
Yeah.
So, were you to donate money at the Crit Gala, is that a tax deduction or a tax credit?
It's a deduction.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So if you donated, say, $30,000, what would your tax deductions be?
So let's say for example, you donated 30,000 and you're in the let's say 10% bracket. So you're saving 3,000 from your total tax liability.
Now, how does one get a tax credit for that money?
So tax credits come, for example, let's say, and the easiest one is children. If you have a child, you automatically get a tax credit for having, whether it's 1 kid, 2 kid, and so forth. That's a tax credit.
Okay, so tax credits in business?
So one more
Okay.
piece. Tax credits apply to all tax brackets. Doesn't matter what bracket you're in. The tax deductions, it matters on which bracket because the percentage bracket that you're in will depend on how much savings you receive. Rather, let's say I give you a tax bracket, you're making $1 million a year. Let's say you're making $100,000 a year. If I give you each a tax credit of $1,000, you each get to save $1,000 at the end of the year, regardless of your bracket.
I've thought about that crit gala almost every single day since it happened.
Why is that? What are you thinking about?
I just really think that people could have been, to not sound crass about it, guilted into giving more money, to be honest. Like, it's for children, folks, but I think the best way to have done that would have been to explain how they could have saved money by giving more money, right? Instead of just being like, who wants to give $30,000?
Right.
It could have been like,
the
who
bat.
paid 6 figures to the IRS last year?
Now,
Yeah.
to take your point into perspective, what some business owners would do is the ones that are very aware of their financials, they'll evaluate to see what bracket they're in and then figure out how much money they need to donate to be able
Yep.
to bump them down to a lower tax bracket.
So here's where I think we could get more money at Crit next year is by being super crystal clear about that and then getting on stage and saying, who's in this tax bracket?
Yeah, but
Who wants to be in a lower tax bracket?
Look, I'm gonna go against the grain with that because it's not about shifting your tax bracket or how much you can save there. It's about donating to support a cause. And if that conversation happens out in the open there, it makes it a little bit weird, I think, in the room, at least in my opinion.
Oh, I
What do
want to
you
make
think?
it weird.
It
I
would
want to
be
guilt you into
different.
donating
Yeah.
money. They'll probably never ask me to MC again, but I'm going to get more money than any MC that's ever gotten it. All I need is once.
Yeah, I think there's rules on that one, especially for the bigger nonprofits that do get grants. So they have to be very strategic in how they word that. But just to kind of go off on your point, though, I feel like they could have done a better job starting it off. I've been to many auctions where they kind of hype the crowd up a little bit and tell them why you're here again. And, let's touch up on another heartwarming story. And here's where your dollars went. Here's another opportunity to go ahead and put $30,000 towards this one child for the whole year. Putting it in that perspective instead of, all right, who wants $30,000 for this one? That could have been.
That's a
definitely
much
approached
nicer way to
differently.
do it. But I really want the rule book, and then I want to see how much money I can squeeze out of people. And it's a little bit of a challenge for me now. So some charity will let me run their auction, and they'll probably never let me do it
If
again.
you're listening to this, she is
But
available.
I'm going to get so much money out of that crowd. It's just, let me see if I can do it. They probably won't like me, but it's for charity, folks. So
That's the main key.
I'm just been thinking on it because I'm like, I feel like I could have gotten more money. And if you're not supposed to feel guilty for charity, then what are you supposed to feel guilty? Open up the wallets.
I don't know if it's good to feel guilty about not being able to give, especially if you're not in a
Oh,
position
not
to
about
give.
not being. That's not who I want to make feel guilty. I want to make the ones who can give feel guilty. Did you
Let-
pay 6 figures to the IRS? I think you can afford to give to charity.
There you go. All
Now,
right.
if you made less,
As long as she's not talking to me.
I'm talking to the ones who can afford it and aren't.
Well,
You're doing
the
your
one
part,
guy
Mark.
gave, what did
You're
he
Oh, the
give?
your
one
part.
guy did.
30
The
grand?
30,000 guy, yeah, but the $18,000 one didn't even get sold.
Yeah. But
Every
I am
one of
glad that
those.
you did clarify that because I think it was last year in my taxes where I felt like I gave more to nonprofits and it didn't make a difference in my taxes.
Right.
And that's what I didn't understand. My CPA had to explain that to me. I was like, okay. Because I was like, I can't give any more right now. I mean, I'm working on it, but did not what I contribute make a difference.
So if you give 10,000, your tax deduction say 1,000 out of that, but can you count the whole 10,000 you gave against your revenue
Like your profit.
to help lower
that
you
one
down?
again.
So let's say the tax bracket cuts off at $100,000, right? And you're at $110,000. You want to get below that. If you donate $10,500, is that going to get you to the next bracket, or is it just the tax deduction amount? Say it's 10%. That $10,000 or $1,000 is what moves the needle, not the whole 10,000. So is the whole donated amount attributed towards your reduction in your tax bracket?
So now, of course, it's taxes, so it is a little bit more complicated than that. Now, there's a limit that you have to donate past to where it actually starts making a difference.
Oh.
So to where Jenevy was saying, I've donated some amount, and sometimes it makes a difference, sometimes it doesn't. There is kind of like I would call it like maybe like a bubble of how much. Let's say it's roughly about 12,000 a year. There's some items that go in there, and it includes donations. And so if you can prove that you've donated roughly about above 12,000, that's when it actually starts to count.
Okay, to lowering your I guess your revenue amount that's determines your tax bracket. Okay.
Yeah, and then there is one more piece that so above a certain tax bracket, let's say for example, to your point, the 100,000, you're at, let's say you're 10%, and then at 110 you're at 20%, right? It's at 110 and above that gets taxed at 20%, but everything that's at 100 and below is at 10%.
Oh, okay. So they're not going to hit you for the whole.
Right. A lot of people
amount.
think,
Okay.
once I get to 110, I'm all of a sudden it's all of it at 20%.
That would hurt.
When it's not.
Yeah.
Right. It's only just that little bit above.
I love that Emad was like, yeah, let's do taxes, but don't go too deep. And then we were like, let's go really deep. Let's do this.
Let's understand
We
everything.
went there.
Well, I mean, those are questions that I have. I'm just a regular guy. I would never be a CPA or do bookkeeping or any of that kind of stuff. Definitely not my deal, but they are important questions, and I think a lot of us don't understand it.
Yeah, and many people confuse that concept, which is, okay, let's say, for example, I made 120,000, for example. You look at your percentage breakouts of brackets. It says 120 is, let's say, 20%. Oh, well, then I get I get taxed 20% for that whole 120. When in reality, it's not. It's only the brackets and that money in it get taxed that percentage. And then when you move to the next bracket, it's only that amount at that bracket. So that's why a lot of times you'll find that overall you're maybe at 14, 15, 16, 17%, and not those direct percentage brackets.
All right. So when it comes to business owners and our finances, right? Well, what should we be paying attention to? And I know you're going to say expenses, right? Is that like the most important thing, or is there other things that are important?
Most important thing you should be looking into is your percentages next to every line item. That's the most important. So what I mean by that, and just for simplicity terms, let's say you've got money in. Let's say you've got two sources of money coming in. You want to know what percentage of each source brings in the most. So let's say you've got money from, can we take you as an example? Let's say you've got money coming in from the podcast. Let's say which you're not, but there was money coming in from the mixer. You'd want to know how much percentage is coming from each, right? And then you've got your expenses. You want to see, along with every expense line item, which ones are the highest. Now, you want to take your three highest and kind of really focus in on those. And does it make sense? You want to always continuously ask yourself that question. Does this make sense? If you're looking at it and you want to kind of take an outside point of view look, and if for any reason you say this doesn't make sense, then you yourself have kind of figured out the issue. And so that's why, from an outside point of view, and that's kind of why you've brought us in the picture, is because we can tell you that from an unbiased opinion. And we'll let you know, okay, based on your business, some of these expense percentages just don't make sense. Let's walk through them. Let's go into these categories, breaking out line item by line item, and figure out which ones are actually important and which ones aren't. Believe it or not, that exercises makes a big difference. I mean, you're talking a couple percentage points at the very bottom line, which is your net. And as you continue to grow, a couple percentage points makes a big difference. So that's a fantastic practice to run through.
How often are you finding people do that without your prompting?
We typically have to prompt.
Yep. Right. It's
That
never
was a
right.
setup of a
You have to
question.
prompt.
Right. We've
Yeah.
got to prompt. You don't know what you don't know, but a main thing for our firm is making sure education is key, right? So we emphasize, if you're not sure what you're looking at, call us. We're going to run you through it. We'll set up a meeting. We'll run you through everything. It's standard practice for us that whenever we're running through a P&L with you, that we have those percentages broken out and we explain what everything means as we go through it. We don't just read directly off the report and say, this is what it is. We explain, we go directly into it. We'll briefly let business owners know if something's a little out of percentage range. That way they're aware. And of course, awareness is a big part.
So this is a really specific question, but how far into the month do you guys get the P&L reports out for the month before?
So we have 3 priority levels. So the first priority level is by the 6th day of the next month because things do have to get reconciled. The second priority is by the 10th day, and then the third priority is by the 15th day. And the reason we have those brackets is because we have to get all the information needed to make sure that those reports are accurate before we just go over it, right? So we'd want to make sure that the reconciliation is done to make sure that the numbers are what they are and that nothing has been missed or duplicated.
Okay, so you put clients into a priority level based on how soon you get the information.
Yeah, and we let them
Makes
know.
sense.
Like, for you, it's going to be possible to be able to get you the reports by, for example, the 6th, because we know you're on time, you're diligent, you request things, it's there by the next day. Now, if you're someone that has a 2-week turnaround time, it's going to be a priority 3 just because there's a delay.
How do you customize it to every client? Because every business is different, every module is different, but we all know that numbers don't lie. So how do you customize it and kind of figure out the pain points for these business owners as they're coming in?
Pain points. So after, that comes with a little bit of experience in working within certain industries like we do. Like we're very big on home services and service-based businesses. And so that's heavy on customer relations. And so that's kind of where we're able to kind of delve into and understand percentages more. Because product-based, you've got your products. Of course, you can always negotiate purchase agreements, but for the most part, a lot of times your hands are kind of tied with products.
That's true. But sometimes also it kind of, I guess for business owners that are listening to this who've never had a CPA or a bookkeeper, how does your company kind of stand apart from other companies out there who pretty much just have their system set in place and there's no communication there on areas they can improve and parts, that they could really, that could really be improved to scale?
Okay, I got your question. So the 2 big things that really does separate us from a lot of other firms is detail. Our focus and attention to detail makes a difference. And then like you just mentioned, the communication is actually huge. So the way we've structured our company is to have the ability to where if you have a question or a simple question, we have a line that you can text that's directly connected with our managers. So you could text that number and you'll get a response relatively quick. If, let's say, for example, you want to set up a meeting, you can call the line, you can text the line, you can, of course, always send us an email. It's always monitored. So we're very quick to respond, and typically we have less than a 24-hour turnaround time. And, of course, on text, it's much, much quicker, but on emails, it's 24-hour turnaround time.
So I've got a question about like the future of Simply Bookkeeping.
Yes.
You know, the saying, riches is in the niches. I know a lot of CPAs, accounting firms, for that very reason, tend to niche down into certain industries. Do you have a plan to do that in the future? What's the future of Simply Bookkeeping look like?
So, love that phrase, riches are in the niches. So our niche, I would say about 50% of our clientele is in home service-based and home improvements, right? I would say the other 50% are business owners who we have had initial consultations in, that we know they have good potential and that we know we can help them strive and get to the next level. Of course, we'd never want to take on a client that we know we couldn't help. So that's why that initial consultation is very important. But if we know we can help you and we've got the data and analytics to be able to support our decisions, it's helpful not only for you, but it's helpful for us too, because we can add more value to you as a client.
So how does that affect your marketing?
That is a good question. Our marketing, and I will say our network has kept us extremely busy. So we do marketing, but we don't rely on marketing. So our current clients continue to send us their friends, their other business owners that they know, as well as we've got a lot of partners that also continue to send us. So as you know, we only do bookkeeping. We don't file taxes. Now, there are CPAs out there that actually don't do bookkeeping and only do tax filing. And so those are always fantastic connections for us, and they continue to send us new clients as well. So we've grown at a pretty good, steady pace to where we can still maintain quality and not lose the focus that we have on those new clientele, because those are typically the most important that we want to focus in on when they come in, because it's kind of like helping you learn to walk, right? We want to teach you how to walk, kind of take it slowly in the beginning, right before you start running. And that's kind of where the most important stage of the business is.
I love that.
I gather from that tax preparers are a good business connection for you,
Yes,
right?
they're really good connections.
So are you using LinkedIn at all?
We do use LinkedIn.
Are you targeting local tax preparers to like put on a I don't know, some kind of party or something for them, or invite them over or something? It's like, if you can reach out to those folks in the greater San Antonio area and bring them together for some kind of event that you're doing.
Yeah.
Now you're the one throwing the party and you're building the relationships. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's actually a great idea.
Okay. Well, that'll be
I haven't thought of
$400
it,
for that.
Can I ask, so right now you're getting referrals. Are they just being like lobbed at you, or do you do an ask every once in a while?
Oh, they're being lobbed at him. I'm one of them that lobs at
Just
him.
lob it. I love it. That's super impressive. But like, is that how it's happening?
Yes, we receive a lot of referrals from all sources.
Yeah,
It's great. But
here's the thing, though, and I take your phrase all the time. Here's the thing, right? It's a total. You need a shirt that says "Here's the thing."
Oh my gosh, do I say that because my daughter says that?
Yeah,
she started saying it. She goes, "Here's the thing," and I'm like,
yeah,
that's weird.
I picked it up from you, and my wife's like, "What are you, Heather?" You know, it's like, but anyway,
now you know where it comes from.
I think I do. Huh?
So you're very easy to refer. It's a whole, seriously, it's everything you got going for you with the business, right? It's how you talk to people. You're very kind. You've got a great logo, right? Well, I think branding is super important. I know Jenevy would agree. Who designed that anyway? Did you do it yourself?
I picked it.
From what, Fiverr.com or something, or what?
There was a few designs that we kind of had to run through.
Because it's good. And you know your colors are gold and black.
Gold and black.
Yeah, it's straight up. But then it's the quality of the work that comes with it that it just really lets people's guard down when it's like, oh, no, you need to talk to you. So it's a really good thing. If it was investable, I'd probably invest in your business.
I appreciate it. Well, I think transparency is huge. I mean, there's really nothing that we're going to keep from you. And I like to be transparent. Some folks, let's say, a business owner comes and I I don't think we're going to be a good help for them. I'll let them know that we can't, but I'll also let them know why, right? I don't want them to think like, oh, they turned us down. No, it's, hey, not only do I think we wouldn't be able to provide the best service for you, we want to be able to help you as best we can, but here's another source to what you're actually wanting. So we want to make sure that we can 100% serve who we take on all the time.
It's a no but ... So that's actually a great segue into the next question about when, taking on clients that are a complete mess, right? Because there are a few of those out there, I'm sure, right? So how do you handle that when they come to you and they say, Emad, I really want your help, but here you go. I mean, how do you deal with those?
Here's the box of receipts.
Heather's going to love this one because it's all about structure, right? I mean, you get a huge box or whatever you get, it's just a big mess. You look at it, you break it out into pieces, and then you start taking it piece by piece. So what I mean by that is, let's say a business owner comes and they say, we think we need to redo all of last year. That's great. Let's say they've got an accounting software. We'll jump into their software. We'll have a look for ourselves. Now, a lot of times it's a story that's happening. So you're kind of evaluating the story to see, okay, does everything line up, right? So you've got tax returns that can help close things. If you've got payroll, you can close it out with your payroll reports that are quarterly. And so you're taking a look at these things and then you're evaluating everything. So if we do redo a full year for them and then we see that, okay, prior, your starting balances are off, then we'll recommend, okay, we can go previous years. Now, there are sometimes benefits to that, and then sometimes there aren't benefits, depending on, of course, if the return has already been filed. So if we feel like there's a significant amount of savings, then we'll recommend, okay, we should probably redo this for you because you could probably get a lot of money back. And so it's all about taking it piece by piece. So we'll start with 1 year, get all the information. That's typically standard, right, is a 1 year cleanup, going back a year, and then getting you caught up. Once you're caught up, then we say, okay, we'll have the, meeting, show them what's happened for that previous year, and then we'll set the plan for the future. So we'll say, okay, has this been helpful to you? If it has, would you like to continue with us monthly to really kind of understand how things are going, and then not panic 1 year later when you've got a year and a half worth of things that have just fell off.
That's true. Well, this is kind of something that I've been hearing going around in the industry, but I want to know what your take is on it. They said the way the economy is going right now, every business is going to be audited before the end of the year. Do you think that's true?
Not even possible.
I don't think that's possible. Every business being audited before the end of the year?
They said every small business is going to be audited. And so that, I don't know if they were putting fear in people. I mean, that did put a fear in me. Luckily, I have systems in place, but,
No more TikTok for you, Jenny.
I feel like it may be like every business within a certain profit or revenue range.
Yeah.
Possibly.
They're going to try to squeeze.
Yeah.
Now, I will say that is a great question because that sparks the question of, if you were a business that was in that position of being audited, do you have the right team on your side to walk you through that process? If the question is no, then you need to evaluate who's on your side. Now, as for us, we keep record of all documentation. We make sure everything's crystal clear. So in the case of an audit, we've got everything to prove. And so it's an easy process. Well, I wouldn't say easy, but it's a simpler process than it has to be. So making sure you've got the right people in place is going to make a big difference. And for both sides, for the business owner and for the auditor. They see you've got everything together. I mean, it's like, okay.
So let's talk about auditing then real quick. So if you have a client that's audited, obviously you've got the bookkeeping side of it, right? But do you have contacts of like, here's the rest of your army that you want to have around you to fight the IRS?
We do, yes. So there are EAs, enrolled agents. I believe we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but EAs have the ability to negotiate with the IRS. And so you essentially would want to have an EA on your side as well, because they'll help with the process.
Okay, I like that.
Would an
That's
EA
good to
be
know.
better than a CPA or vice versa?
So EAs do have the ability to file taxes. You can have an EA that's a CPA.
But a CPA is not an EA, technically.
Right.
Are you always looking for connections for EAs?
Yeah, yeah.
I think I know
EAs can
one.
file taxes too.
Yeah, I think I know one. Have I introduced you to Adele yet?
Not yet.
Okay, I'll introduce you to her.
I think
They
I met her
do.
at your mixer, actually.
They're doing. I think they've got 3 more shows booked. They're going to come in and talk more about what they're doing. But
Wow.
she does all the IRS classes and all that kind of stuff. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, so that'd be a good connection. All right, awesome. Cool. Now I don't have to keep you guys separate.
No, we spoke. We work really good together.
Perfect.
They're not too fond of bookkeeping, and so it's kind of our realm. We'd love to help them.
Oh, nice.
So we had a little chit chat.
You need to have coffee. All right.
Cheers.
So procrastination's kind of a thing, right? I mean, that's my favorite pastime, I think, procrastination. So I imagine you see that in your business as well. How are you guys dealing with clients that drag their heels?
We let them know. I mean, we've got our communication strategies to be able to make it as efficient as possible. We know business owners are busy. We try to keep it simple, precise, to the point, and not have to bother them more than we have to. And so we utilize that area 2 ways. We've got a software that helps send soft reminders for items that are really easy to see, like a task list, because it's much easier when you see what you're being requested rather than just an email with a bunch of things that we need from you. And so that's been a really helpful software to help with that process. And then our manager as well, Cindy, she'll actually jump on a quick call, say, hey, so-and-so, we need to get these items here to make sure that we get your finances done and sent to you by the day that we've got set for you. That way we let you know, hey, we're trying to make sure that you get your things on time, so help us do that for you. And so you've got your procrastinators, but we do what we can to
Have you
make
ever
sure.
fired anyone?
Clients?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I'm sorry, but I just help me help you.
Yeah.
It's just not working out. I know you Go ahead, Heather. I know you're chomping at the bit over there about.
Oh no, I feel like you haven't been in business long enough if you haven't fired a client.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, you know, we have to serve our duty too. If you're pushing us to the limit to where we can't serve our purpose, which is delivering things on a monthly basis, and maybe we've reached out for 2, 3, 4, 5 months, and you're just not responding. We would hate for the word to come back and just say, oh, well, they're not on it, which is a possibility. And it's like, okay, we're not going to risk that.
It's a reputation thing at a certain point, because what's the highest likelihood client to go and leave a bad review or talk bad about you? It's probably the client that's driving you crazy.
How's that conversation go? I'm sorry, I'm going to have to let you go. Or how's it? It's just not working out. I mean, how do you approach it?
Well, there are signs of warning. It's like, okay, are we really helping you out here? And, when we do get a hold of them, it's like, okay, our purpose is to serve you, to do your best. Now, we're not able to do that because, maybe you're busy, etc. Is there someone else we can talk to be able to get this information?
It's not me.
Yeah.
It's you.
I mean, if that route doesn't work, it's like, what are we here for? We can't do our job.
Our rates just went up. I'm sorry, they tripled. Just for people who don't
I think
answer my
the
calls.
Classic. I just don't think this is a good fit.
Yeah.
We're
I
not
don't
the
think
best
we're
fit
working
for
anymore.
you as a business. So I would
But
highly
here's
recommend
so-and-so's
you
number.
hire a full-time bookkeeper to follow you
I
around.
really want you to walk me through, firing me. How would that go? It's
Mark
like
feels like he's going to get
4
fired
months.
from you.
Oh no,
here soon.
Jennifer's all over that stuff. I got no problems there, but
People that respond just make things so much easier.
yeah, it's the difficult clients, especially if they're not paying you on time, right? That's another aggravating factor.
I will say, I mean, a lot of the word out there is, we reach out to our accountant or CPA or so forth, and they never respond. With us, it's actually vice versa. You call us, we respond pretty fast. And a lot of times, we're actually calling you before you get a chance to call us. So our office manager, and if she's watching this, props to her. She does a fantastic job. She's on top of it. She calls people back. She takes notes. She delivers it to the bookkeepers. She stays in connection. She does a fantastic job.
Yeah, every business needs one of those folks, right? So. All right, Emad, if folks want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Absolutely, Mark. So if they get a chance, check out our website at www.simplybookkeeping.com, and that's simply with an I, S-I-M-P-L-I, bookkeeping, O-O-K-E-E, or they can reach me at 832-518-9368. Again, that's 832-518-9368, and I'd love to have an initial consultation.
He's learned so much, been on the show enough times, right?
Like, I've realized that people don't know how to spell book or keeping,
No.
so we better reiterate it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And you said it in writer, 2 O's, 2 K's, and 2 E's. You know what I mean? So,
Can't miss a beat.
love it. All right, Emad, thanks. A quick reminder to check out, as we wrap up anyway, a quick reminder to check out our latest podcast and catch video version of the show anytime by visiting our website at satalkradio.com. That's going to be it for this one. You guys have a great week. Good job, everybody.